In this video, we're digging up 10 of the most brilliant life hacks straight from Grandma's playbook. These old school tips aren't just clever, they're still super effective today. From fixing sticky zippers to silencing squeaky floors, you'll be surprised how useful these timeless tricks really are. Number 1, Cube Dent Fix. This hack might sound too simple to be real, but it's one of those quietly genius things that actually works. Carpet dents from heavy furniture are annoying. They make your room look worn out even if it's clean. Grandma had this clever solution that didn't involve expensive sprays or steamers, just ice cubes. Yep, regular ice from your freezer. Here's how she did it. When she moved a piece of furniture and found a deep dent in the carpet, she didn't panic or rush to buy something. She'd take a regular ice cube and place it directly in the dent, not multiple cubes at once, just one per dent. Then she'd let it sit there and melt completely. That's the key part, letting the ice melt slowly, naturally. No microwaving, no hot water, just patience. As the ice melts, the water gradually soaks into the carpet fibers and the padding underneath. This moisture causes the flattened fibers to swell and start lifting back up. It doesn't happen instantly. It might take several hours, depending on how deep the dent is or how thick the carpet pile is. But over time, you'll see the dent start to disappear as the carpet regains its original shape. Once the ice has melted and the area is damp, not soaked, just damp, she'd take a spoon, a butter knife, or even the edge of a coin and gently fluff up the carpet fibers. The idea isn't to scrape or damage the fabric, but to coax it back upright. Run the edge lightly across the damp spot in a few directions to get those fibers standing up again. If the dent was especially deep, she'd do this a couple of times over the course of the day. Sometimes she'd also blot up any excess water with a towel before fluffing, just to avoid any chance of mildew, especially on wool or thick rugs. And if the dent was really stubborn, she'd repeat the process the next day with another ice cube. It's a totally free fix, and the best part is it doesn't damage the carpet or wear it down like aggressive cleaning methods can. No harsh chemicals, no weird smells, just water and time. It's one of those things that makes you stop and think, why didn't I already know this? A perfect example of Grandma's quiet, smart approach to household problems. Number 2, aluminum foil sharpening trick. This one's a total gem, especially if you're always reaching for scissors that somehow get dull way too fast. Grandma had no patience for buying new tools every time something lost its edge, and she definitely wasn't going to invest in some fancy sharpener. Her go-to fix? Plain old aluminum foil. Seriously, just the kind you already have in your kitchen drawer. It may sound too simple to work, but that's the beauty of it. It does work. Here's how she did it. She'd grab a piece of aluminum foil, about a foot long, and fold it over a few times until it was about 5 or 6 layers thick. Folding it gives it a bit more resistance, which helps sharpen the blades. Then, she'd take her dull scissors and start cutting through the foil. Nothing fancy, just regular, straight cuts, about 5 to 10 times, depending on how dull the blades were. The act of slicing through the foil works a bit like sanding. The thin metal actually removes small bits of the burrs or imperfections that build up on the blade edges over time. And we're not talking about some miracle that'll make your scissors brand new, but it does noticeably improve their cutting ability. It's especially helpful for craft scissors, kitchen shears, or those random utility scissors that get used on everything from plastic packaging to old tape. After cutting the foil, she'd usually wipe the blades with a soft cloth just to clear off any leftover bits, and they were good to go. This hack is great because it doesn't require any special skill, tools, or setup. You don't even need to take the scissors apart or mess with screws. It takes less than a minute and makes a big difference. Plus, you can do it over and over without damaging your scissors, as long as you're not using them on super heavy-duty tasks they're not made for. Grandma would also remind everyone not to toss dull scissors or run out to replace them the moment they stop slicing clean. With a little foil, they've got a second life. This trick's perfect for teachers, crafters, or anyone who uses scissors regularly and just wants a quick way to keep them working. Number 3, chalk to prevent mold. You wouldn't think regular white chalk could do much beyond writing on a blackboard, but Grandma knew better. She used it as a secret weapon against moisture in the home. Mold and mildew thrive in damp, dark places where air doesn't move much. Closets, drawers, under sinks, behind furniture, in basements. And once that musty smell sets in, it's a real pain to get rid of. That's where the chalk comes in. Chalk is naturally absorbent. It pulls in moisture from the air, kind of like a mini dehumidifier, But instead of plugging something in or using expensive moisture absorbers, she'd just toss a few pieces of plain white chalk into whatever space needed it. In closets, she'd bundle 5 or 6 sticks together with a rubber band and hang them on a hanger or hook. In drawers or storage boxes, she'd lay a couple sticks between folded clothes or under linens. For tighter spots, like the corner under a sink or behind a heavy cabinet, she'd tape one to the wall or just place it in a small dish. Over time, the chalk gets a little dusty or crumbly as it absorbs humidity, and that's how you know it's doing its job. Once a month or so, she'd replace it with fresh sticks. No need to scrub anything or mess with chemicals, just a quick swap. If you want to reuse the chalk, you can even leave it out in the sun for a few hours to dry it back out, though eventually you'll want to replace it entirely. It's not just about keeping things dry either. Mold can damage fabric, ruin books, and even trigger allergies. Using chalk in storage areas helped protect everything from winter sweaters to old photo albums. She even used it in her sewing kit to keep needles and thread rust-free, since moisture can mess up even metal tools over time. Bonus tip: if you're storing shoes or boots in a closet, toss a couple pieces of chalk inside them. It helps keep them dry and prevents that funky smell from settling in. Simple, cheap, no fancy packaging, just good old-fashioned prevention. Chalk doesn't look like much, but it's one of those small tools that quietly saves your stuff from damage without you even realizing it. Number 4, rice for drying. Before all those sleek moisture absorbers and silica gel packs became mainstream, Grandma already had a drying system that worked wonders, and it involved nothing more than a big bag of uncooked rice. Anytime something accidentally got soaked, be it shoes left out in the rain, a watch dropped in the sink, or even later on, a cell phone that took an unexpected dive into the toilet, her first move wasn't panic. It was heading straight for the pantry. She'd grab a plastic container, fill it with rice, and gently bury the wet item inside like she was planting something delicate. No fancy instructions, just cover the object completely and leave it alone. If it was electronics, she always made sure to remove the battery or turn the device off immediately. That was key. She knew that if you tried to power on something while water was still inside, you could fry the circuits. Instead, she trusted time and rice to do the job. Why rice? Because it naturally absorbs moisture, slowly and evenly. It acts like a sponge without applying pressure or heat. So, when something fragile needed to dry without damage, this was the safest way. And it wasn't just phones or gadgets. Wet shoes, fill them with rice and let them sit overnight. Damp wallets or gloves, toss them in a paper bag filled with rice. Sometimes she'd even wrap smaller items in a thin cloth before putting them into the rice to keep them from getting dusty. What made this hack so clever is that it cost literally nothing. You didn't have to buy anything new or order some special drying kit. Just regular old white rice, and she always reminded everyone to give it enough time. No checking every hour, she'd leave things for a full day, sometimes 2. The key wasn't just the rice, it was patience. And more often than not, the item came out dry and working like nothing ever happened. For something so low-tech, it still outperforms a lot of the modern solutions. That's why even today, when someone drops their phone in water, the first piece of advice people give is, throw it in rice. That's grandma logic, living on. Number 5, clothespin nail holder. This one is so smart, you'll wonder why it's not in every toolkit instruction manual. If you've ever tried hammering a nail and missed, hitting your thumb instead, you already know the pain. It's sudden, it's sharp, and it's usually followed by a lot of swearing. But Grandma, she had zero patience for that kind of nonsense. Her hack was simple. Use a clothespin to hold the nail. She'd take a regular wooden clothespin, the spring-loaded kind, and pinch it around the nail. That gave her a solid grip without getting her fingers anywhere near the hammer. She could line up the nail exactly where she wanted, angle it if needed, and tap it in with confidence. And once it was halfway in and steady, she'd pull the clothespin away and finish the job. No bruises, no blood, no stress. What's genius about this trick is how accessible it is. You don't need any special gear or expensive finger guards. Just grab a clothespin from the laundry basket. And the wooden ones are perfect because they're sturdy and don't slip, but even plastic ones can work in a pinch. It's one of those low-cost, high-value fixes that make a real difference, especially if you're not used to DIY projects. Grandma used it for everything from hanging pictures to fixing broken chair legs. Even when she got older and her hands weren't as steady, this trick let her keep working on things around the house without asking for help. It made her feel capable and confident, and that's what made it powerful. It's also a great teaching tool. When kids were learning how to use tools safely, she'd hand them a hammer, a nail, and a clothespin. They could practice without the fear of smashing their fingers, which made them more willing to try. That's what makes this hack so brilliant. It's not just about safety, it's about independence too. Number 6, rubber band jar opener. You ever tried opening a jar and felt like you were going into battle? Some lids just don't budge, no matter how much muscle you throw at them. And back in Grandma's kitchen, she didn't have one of those fancy rubber grip lid openers or silicone pads. What she did have? Rubber bands. And they worked just as well. Maybe better. Whenever a lid gave her trouble, she'd take a thick rubber band and wrap it tightly around the lid, usually a couple of times. That extra layer of grip meant her hand wouldn't slip, and the traction it created was often all it took to twist the lid open with ease. If the jar was still too stubborn, she'd double up, another band or two layered on top, and try again. It's surprisingly effective, especially if your hands are wet or not as strong as they used to be. She didn't need hot water tricks or banging jars on counters, just a simple rubber band and a little patience. It's such a small thing, but it saved so much frustration. And it worked for everyone, whether you had arthritis, long nails you didn't want to break, or just didn't feel like wrestling with the lid. You could get the job done with minimal effort. This trick came in especially handy for preserving food. She canned vegetables and fruits all the time, and those lids can get super tight from the vacuum seal. Rubber bands became part of the process, just like labels or jars themselves. And if someone came into her kitchen struggling to open something, she'd hand over a jar with a grin and say, "Here, try it with this." What's great is you don't even need industrial strength bands. Even the ones that come off produce or mail bundles can do the job. Keep a few in your junk drawer or around the kitchen, and you're good to go. It's another one of those no-cost, no-tech hacks that still feels like a game changer. And it proves that Grandma didn't just know how to cook. She knew how to solve everyday problems without making a big fuss. Number 7, candle wax zipper fix. Zippers are great when they work, but when they stick, snag, or just refuse to move, they can ruin your whole day. Whether it's your favorite jacket, a winter coat, a pair of boots, or even a backpack, dealing with a jammed zipper is never fun. Grandma had a way around it, though, and all she needed was a plain, unscented candle. That's it. She'd take an unlit candle, any kind, even a small birthday one, and rub the wax gently along the zipper teeth. It didn't matter if it was metal or plastic. She'd move the slider up and down slowly, letting the wax work its way in. It acted as a natural lubricant, smoothing out the mechanism without needing any spray or oil. And just like that, the zipper was working like new again. This trick works especially well on coats that haven't been worn in a while, or zippers exposed to rain or cold weather. Moisture and dirt can make zippers rough, but a bit of wax adds glide instantly. It's also great for stubborn boots or luggage zippers that often catch fabric or get stuck in one place. You don't even need to remove the candle wax after. It's dry, clean, and doesn't leave stains. Grandma kept a stub of a candle right in her sewing drawer, ready for action. It wasn't just about convenience, it was smart too. Zipper replacements can be expensive and annoying, especially on coats and bags. But with this hack, she could keep things working smoothly for years without spending a dime. She even used this trick preventively. If she bought a new jacket or bag, she'd run the wax down the zipper once before ever wearing it out. It helped break in the track and kept the slider moving smoothly from the start. Think of it like greasing a hinge. Same concept, but with a much more elegant solution. So the next time your zipper acts up, skip the frustration. Just grab a candle and give it a quick rub. It's low effort, high reward, and it just might save your favorite coat. Number 8, cornstarch for squeaky floors. Squeaky wooden floors might sound charming in old houses, but when you're trying to sneak through the hallway at night without waking anyone up, they're anything but. Most people assume you need to pull up floorboards or use expensive sealants to fix it. Not Grandma. Her secret weapon? Cornstarch. If she heard a squeak, she didn't grab a toolbox. She grabbed her baking supplies. She'd pour a little dry cornstarch into a sifter or a fine mesh strainer, then gently dust it over the area where the squeak was coming from. After that, she'd take a soft broom or even a dry cloth and work the powder into the cracks between the boards. That's it. The science behind it is simple. Most squeaks come from friction, wooden boards rubbing against each other, or against nails as they shift. Cornstarch, being an ultra-fine powder, works its way into those tiny gaps and acts as a dry lubricant. It reduces friction and quiets the noise without making a mess or leaving residue. And because it's dry, there's no risk of moisture damage like with oils or sprays. It was one of her go-to hacks for guests, too. If someone complained about squeaky floors while staying over, she'd say, "Give me 5 minutes," and come back with her sifter like she was baking a cake. And sure enough, by the next morning, the hallway was silent. What's even better, cornstarch is totally safe for pets and kids. No chemicals, no odor, no sticky floors. Just sprinkle, sweep, and you're done. You might need to reapply it every few months if the squeak returns. But honestly, for such an easy fix, it's worth it. She used it all over the house, especially in high traffic areas like entryways or hallways where the boards got the most movement. She even taught neighbors this trick, and they swore by it after trying. It's not flashy, it's not complicated, but it's practical and effective. So if your old wooden floors are making noise and you're not ready to call in a contractor, try Grandma's way. A little cornstarch might be all you need to bring back the peace and quiet. Number 9, button thread saver. You know the feeling, you're heading out the door, and suddenly you notice that a button on your shirt or coat is barely hanging on. The threads are loose, maybe one's already snapped. Grandma had a simple fix that made those buttons last way longer, and all it took was a bottle of clear nail polish. After sewing a button back in place, she'd dab a tiny amount of clear nail polish right onto the knot and the threads. That one small step hardened the thread and kept it from fraying or unraveling. It's like setting the thread in place with invisible glue. And because nail polish dries fast and clear, it didn't change the look or feel of the fabric. She did this for everything: shirts, coats, cardigans, even pants. Every time she replaced a button, she'd finish it with her little bottle of polish. It was her way of making sure she wouldn't have to do the job again anytime soon. And guess what? It worked. Some of her buttons stayed put for years without needing any repairs. This trick is especially useful for buttons that see a lot of tugging, like on cuffs, waistbands, or collars. Those areas are where thread tends to give out first, but with a little seal from the polish, it holds strong. It also works great for decorative buttons that you don't want falling off randomly, especially on coats or blouses. You don't need a special brand of nail polish. Any cheap, clear one works just fine. In fact, Grandma bought one just for sewing. She kept it in her sewing box right next to the needles and threads. Over time, she even used it to stop threads from unraveling on hems or little pulls in knit fabric. It was like her multi-purpose thread protector. It's the kind of fix that saves time, money, and effort. You don't have to constantly re-sew things or worry about losing buttons while you're out. Plus, it's great for travel. Throw a mini bottle of clear polish in your bag, and you've got an emergency repair tool that takes up almost no space. So, if you're tired of seeing buttons fall off after just a few wears, give Grandma's method a shot. A tiny drop of polish could be the difference between a quick fix and a full-blown wardrobe malfunction. Number 10, toothpaste for foggy headlights. Headlights looking dull or foggy. Most people think they need to pay for a professional restoration or buy some overpriced kit from the auto shop. But Grandma, she had a fix sitting right in the bathroom cabinet. Plain white toothpaste. She'd grab a tube, not the gel kind, but the chalky, gritty kind, and a soft cloth or sponge. Then she'd smear a small amount of toothpaste directly onto the plastic headlight covers and start rubbing in small circles. It's the same motion as buffing a car. Gentle, even pressure, covering the entire surface. The reason this works is because toothpaste contains mild abrasives. Those tiny particles help scrub away the oxidation and grime that builds up on headlights over time. After a few minutes of rubbing, she'd rinse it off with water and wipe the surface clean. The difference was immediately visible. Clearer, brighter lights that made driving at night much safer. She'd repeat this maybe once every few months, depending on how often the car was used or parked outside. It cost her nothing extra, didn't require any tools or special products, and it only took about 10 minutes per headlight. The best part? This trick works on other plastic surfaces too. She used it on cloudy watch faces, fogged up plastic panels, and even old vinyl records to clean up surface haze. The key was always to use a gentle hand and rinse thoroughly. It's not about scrubbing hard, it's about consistency. So next time your headlights look yellow or cloudy, skip the expensive fix. Grab some white toothpaste and a rag and try Grandma's way. You might be surprised just how effective that little tube can be. It's one more example of her genius, taking something ordinary and turning it into something brilliantly useful.